What I'm talking to you today about is essentially looking at ways that PSA can strategise to meet the needs of Māori. And so that means I want to touch briefly on Māori knowledge, mātauranga Māori, a Māori strategy or Māori strategising, kaupapa Māori, and Māori practice, and how Māori practice weaves Māori knowledge and Māori strategy together in the tikanga. So certainly in terms of developing strategies, programs, even ideas for working in with, for and by Māori communities, I believe it has to be underpinned by an intimate knowledge of those things that we as Māori hold dear and practice as and when we are able to, when we're together. If we hadn't developed significant sound strategies, we would never have traversed the South Pacific from Wananui-a-Kiwa. So we know we're capable of strategy. I always wonder how many tupuna died before they figured out karaka berries, you know? Strategy, science, knowledge. And so for me, kaupapa Māori is that strategy or plan that makes a space for our people, our language and our culture. And that's where you take the mātauranga and construct the plan of action, which is what I wanted to talk about and touch upon today. The rituals and protocols that support mātauranga Māori and underpin kaupapa Māori. And so when I talk about these things, I want to draw on a philosophical model of tikanga that was developed by a friend of mine, a colleague. Some of you may have encountered him in your mahi, Manuka Henare. You know, Henare is a pure coincidence. Not that the Henrys are trying to take over the world, I promise. What I like to do when I'm having this corridor with people is share his model. It's not mine, it's his, but I love it so much that I like to talk about it. And what he's developed is a framework which he calls the koru of Māori ethics. And he calls it a koru because the koru is so prevalent as an art form in our art, our language, our culture. And it is about, and so the koru is his way of envisioning how we can understand what is tika and how the tikanga flows from what is tika and what is right and proper. But at the heart of the koru is for carvers often, and I've heard this from Paki Harrison, who was our kaumātua when I first started at Auckland University building the marae there back in the 80s, and he said the first chip out of the koru the carver calls io matua kore, because that is the start of all life. No te kore ki te ao pō ki te ao marama. And so at the heart of our notion of who and what we are is io matua kore, and at the heart of the koru is io matua kore. And of course, because we come, we all of us, you know, not just the humans, but the plants, the vegetation, the animals, the birds, the fishes, we all come from io matua kore. And after io matua kore, from te kore ki te ao pō, when matter, if you like, the cosmos, formed itself into two energy forces, one being Ranginui, the Sky Father, and the other being Papatuanuku, the Earth Mother, then life was able to be begat. And obviously, I'm sure as I look around the room, I don't need to do the biology exercise when male energy and female energy is locked in te pō, pō nui, te pō roa, you know, things get begat. There were many atua that were born from Rangi and Papa, and eventually Tāne Mahuta was able to separate his parents to create the world of light, Te Ao Marama. And woven into that simple little story, which I told in 3 minutes, is thousands of years of our intrinsic beliefs. And at the heart of that is that we are all the children of the gods. And when you are children of the gods, you inherit the characteristics of your parents. No ahi para ahau, that's why I'm so iti. You met my mother and father, you'd think I was tall. So what I got from Ngāti Kore and Ngāti Kauki and Whangaroa was iti. What I got from io matua kore was, obviously, these are the gifts, and that was bestowed on all of us. And the first gift that they give us is tapu. is sacredness. And that is intrinsic to all things. All things have a sacredness. Obviously, most things, because we have to live in the real world, can be made noa. But we start first with the implicit knowledge that all things are sacred because all things come from Ngā Atua. And so that requires us, that is an aspect of tika. That's something that we know as a founding truth. Because we come from Iwa Matua Kore, we come from Rangi and Papa. In the north we say we come from Tāne Mahuta and direct descendants, and so I get that gift from my tupuna atua, and that is a tapu. I also get my mauri, and again, all things have this mauri. It is not something just for Māori, it's not something just for men, it's not something just for New Zealanders. All things have tapu, all things have mauri. That is woven into this philosophy. And another interesting one, which a lot of us, I think, certainly I knew very little about it until I started at university, was the notion of ho. And in particular, those of you who've done some study in this field and have had a look at the work of Elsden Best, and in particular his source Ranapiri, who talked about ho as being the breath, as we know. Ho is a breath, but it is also an essence that is imbued in everything that we touch, that we fashion, that we work with. So when I give you something, you are receiving something that has its own tapu and its own mauri, but it also has my ho in it, because I have fashioned it, I've worked it, and I give this to you. And we know the way that ho works. Ho is exhaled and it must be inhaled. And so if you do not reciprocate at some point in the future, then my ho is in this thing and it wants to come back to me. And so the whole notion of koha, of gift giving, of reciprocity is bound up in the notion of ho. And these three gifts, our sacredness, our life force or spirit, and our breath of life, are gifts that we were all given by the gods. And what Manuka argues is this is the core of what we believe is tika. And because we are children of the gods, and because we have teina, those who are smaller or younger than us, we are responsible to be their chaki. So kaitiakitanga and all of the tikanga around kaitiakitanga comes from the understanding that we are all related. And so too does manakitanga, and the voice of our mana. We express our mana, we speak our mana through our generosity. I think language and culture that is used and practiced and shared survives everything. I mean, the Roman culture died 1500 years ago, and yet High Church still uses Latin. Long after the Latin people went, their language has survived because they were not precious about it. They wanted it to be used and taken up. So I actually celebrate when I hear international organisations. I don't think of that as cultural theft. I think of that as empire building. They don't know it yet, but eventually the Māori and the whole will get it. And what I hope is that by having this opportunity to work together across your organisations, across the sectors, across the layers and the levels, across the multi-disciplines that you are all part of, that you are able to find that place in hui like this. Because that's where the strategy emerges. That wairuatanga is about certain types of expression as Māori. What does that mean in your individual organisations? So, when I'm talking about wairuatanga and whanaungatanga in your organisation, I'm talking about real stuff. Not pie in the sky, warm fuzzy lentil munching stuff. I'm talking reality. And how is that practiced in your ropu, in your division, in your wing? And how do you think it should be practiced? Because that to me is fundamental to the strategy of delivering to Māori, for, with and by Māori. Because when you're empowered, when you are able to express your tino rangatiratanga, that will come back to the community that you work in. But you fellas are the ones that are going to be part of the front end of that. So being able to talk and think this week, in these next couple of days, about what that means for you and for your organisation, and how you can use that to empower your own wairua.